Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California, and today I'm going to talk about, I'm going to call it life lessons because I learned something, and though it has really nothing to do with the hummingbirds and the gardening, it really does, at least personally for me and for Gary. So this is going to be on all the fires and what we have to be, aware of. They even tell us now to have masks and everything in case a fire breaks out. But my insurance was coming up, and it did come up. What concerned me is here in the state of California, everything is so expensive. I mean, there's just no way around it. We're one of the highest states to pay fees for everything. And when it came to property taxes, it really went up. I'm not going to get into details on it, but after going over the property taxes and the way we live and we garden and we do the birds, I told Gary that I want to cancel house insurance, homeowner's insurance. A lot of people have. One neighbor has. They couldn't even get it. I would like to cancel it, put that money away on our own. If something happened, we could be prepared. Because let me go back a little bit. Why I started thinking about this. I've spoken to a couple people, who've had issues with the fires in Pacific Palisades and the Eaton fire. The one that I know of with the Eaton fire ended up selling his property and moving away. There was going to be no way he could build a home there and start all over. The other person I was dealing with and talking to, it's been over a year now, and they're living in a rental and they can't get anything situated. Nothing that can get them back to where their home would be. So they've got a mess there. And then you hear the nightmares online and everybody else talking. They can't build their homes. I mean, think about it. Since it's been a year, I think they've built one home, and there's even talk that that might have been in the process before the fire. So you've lost all those homes. It's unbelievable the amount. And you would think by now you would have, I would think, half the homes started. So I decided, what good would it be if a raging fire came through here and wiped everything out? I don't know at my age if I would even want to start all over. In California, it can take 3 to 5 years to build a home. You saw it, one of my neighbors, 5, almost 7 years to finish that home. They stop you, they do inspections, and they change things, and they want this and they want that. It could be a nightmare in certain areas. So I told Gary, why don't we just cancel, and whatever happens, happens. We'll take it from there, because no matter what, they can burn to the ground. We own the land, and I know how much the land is worth alone, and somebody would buy it just for that. So I called my agent that I go through, and it's a reputable big agency. They're well known, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he stopped me. He said, wait a minute, and he went over the issues with the other people that I know about. He said, you're in a different state. You're in a state of mind, and the situation with your property. Now, I've owned, there's a lot of you know there's 2 of them together. The one has been owned for well over 30 years. Now, when I went to get that loan, that's a story in itself. When I went to get that loan, they wanted me to take a 40-year loan. And I figured in 40 years, I don't know where I'm going to be in 40 years. I don't want a 40-year loan. I fought it, and I fought it down to 30. Everything was 40 at the time. I didn't even know they were doing 40 because people couldn't afford the loans. The loans are very expensive here. Property is expensive. My girlfriend did 15 years so she could pay her house off, and that was out in the Lancaster area. I couldn't do 15. It's like double. It's way too much, though you can pay it off early if something good came about. I went ahead with the 30-year loan, and I let the whole thing ride. I tried to pay it off early, but it turned out it was going to cost me to pay it off there early, and there was a lot of issues, but it could have been done. Went ahead and let it go, and that one got paid off 30 years. And then we worked with this one differently too. We got a loan that wasn't, let's just say it wasn't 30 years. So we have our properties paid off. Now, why? As you know, Gary and I don't do anything. You would think we have a boring life. We do not vacation, and we haven't gone on any vacation in probably almost 30 years. We don't go anywhere. We don't go to the movies. We haven't gone out to dinner in probably 8 years. Hold on. We went out to dinner when his family came out. So that would have been over 6 years ago now. So it's been about 6 years since we went out to dinner. We try to eat healthy is what we try to do, and we enjoy gardening. Gary doesn't like going out to dinner. I think I'm more of the adventurous type that would like to do more things. But Gary, which I thought was going to be an issue since he came here from Australia, I thought, oh my goodness, he's going to want to travel. Oh no, he traveled. He was doing a travel to see what he wanted to do with his life. And then once he found what he wanted to do, he wanted to sit put, and he's happy. He could live here, not see anybody, and be happy, he said, for the rest of his life. So we don't go out to dinner. We don't go to football or baseball games. We don't go to concerts. We don't travel. We don't, traveling would be nice a little bit, maybe one day, but we don't travel because so much has to be done around here. So because of that, we could situate, even though my tax account always reminds me, you do know you're broke, but we don't know that because all we do is pay our normal bills. We're very careful on our electricity and gas and water, and we've paid off the property, so it was a struggle for quite a while. I mean, it was literally kind of juggling bills around and stuff to get things paid. But now that the properties are paid off, we don't have to think about that. So we never took a second. I know a lot of people that did a few years ago. It's been more than a few years. I think it's been about 8 years ago, 10 years ago. There was a deal that anybody could buy a house because they were giving you these loans. I'm going to call them fake loans. I saw that. The bank manager at my bank fought me tooth and nail to take one of these loans. Is he out of his mind? Oh, you get all this money, and in 5 years, you just have to pay the loan. And it's basically, it's a second, and some people were doing it on their first. I know somebody did it as a second. One of my neighbors. I kept telling him no. He kept telling me yes. He talked to Gary. I said, no, he can tell me anything he wants. When I say no, it's no. So I didn't take it, but my neighbor did. And I don't think he explained it to his wife because my other neighbor explained it to me. I didn't know them that well. I had met them, talked to them a little bit, but they didn't tell me their business. And people don't share their business, what they're doing. And all of a sudden, I think it was about 6 years ago. I could be off. It could be 8 years ago, whenever it was. We took the loan before that because you had this massive balloon payment that you were supposed to have all this money because you gave you all this money up front, and then you didn't have to pay the mortgage because the mortgage accumulated until the 5 year. I think a lot of you know about the crazy loan they had. When the loan came to terms, which was in about 5 years, they had no money to pay it. And the next thing I knew, they were moving out. My neighbor told me she was in tears. She loved them. I can't believe they're moving. And then all of a sudden they moved out. And I said to her, they've been there before us, so they've been there a long time. What happened? So I went online and did some investigating to find out that they had the same bank manager, because there's just a few banks around here, and they talked the husband into this loan. I don't think the wife understood what it was. They had a couple kids, and they thought things were going to be hunky-dory and great. And when the loan came to terms, you missed 3 payments that belongs to the bank, your house. And they missed the 3 payments. There was no way they could pay everything that was due and the 3 payments now. And boy, I wish I would have known when it first happened, but there was nothing I can do. They lost the home and they were evicted out of the house. All because of, I call it lies. So anyways, they lost their home. They probably had their home paid off and they probably took a second. It was very sad. There's a lot of things you have to be careful. So going back to this, I will not take a second. There's a lot of other things I would do if I had to. But going back to my, so you have to be aware of everything. Don't jump to anything if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably 99.9% not true. There's some catch to it. So anyways, so I went to my agent and we talked, and he told me, you don't want to cancel your loan. It's coming up. I didn't want to renew it. I said, it is thousands of dollars. It is so tough to live here, and I just don't know how long I can keep this up. And even if it burned down, I told him, it would be 3 to 5 years till I could build back. I'd be sitting who knows where. I'd have to wait until I can get a house built. I really don't want to mess with that because I want to build what I want to build, and then you can't because I know other people are having problems. So he explained to me this. Number one, in Pacific Palisades, when you get an estimate on your house, let's say the house is worth, let's just say $1 million. We know it's 10 times that. So what they do is they give you that option. Do you want to just insure it for what the house is worth? Most people do, and everything is fine. But here's the problem. They didn't expect a fire to go through, that not only did the house just burn down, but the pylons, the underneath, the structure below the ground, everything burnt. That was not figured into the amount, he told me. And this is the holdup on a lot of different homes. The other thing is, he explained to me, when you have a loan on the house, you don't own the house, the bank does. So if you've got a 5-bedroom house, we don't have a 5-bedroom house, but just saying, if you got a 5-bedroom house there, 3 baths, 2-story, blah, 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 that's what you took the loan on. Well, that's what the bank wants there. And you have to put back, because remember, just because the house burned down doesn't mean you're not paying your loan. You are still paying for something that's no longer there because it was there when you bought the house. This is where so much of the holdups are, he told me, because they didn't own the property. They didn't own it. They had a loan on it. They can't do anything because they want, let's say the insurance company says, okay, we're going to give you the $1 million that you insured it for, and we're out of here. The problem is, it's going to cost $3 million to build the house back. That was, we're just throwing figures out. $3 million to build the same house back. The bank says no. So I said to him, oh. He said, you don't have a bank on your back. You don't have anything. You own the house. So I said to him, so theoretically, since I own the land and I don't have a mortgage, if I took a loan out, if I pay my insurance, and let's say it's not $1 million, but let's say whatever it is you're insuring the house for, what happens? And he said, well, you could just come in, claim what we lost, you get that loss, you do get some rent if you had to go somewhere, and then you could take, let's say the house was insured for $500,000. It's a payoff. So they would come up with an amount, it could be $700,000, and they hand me a check. Now, they can hand me a check, they said, because we don't have anybody to talk to about what is going to be done with my land, because it belongs to Gary and I. So I said to him, so we would get a payout of whatever it is, and that could be done very quickly, he said. It could be done almost immediately. I don't know what their immediately is, but he said it could be done very quickly. And then we could, theoretically, because now in California you can put like three homes on one lot or whatever, I could build a tiny home. So I said, I could build a tiny home? Yeah, because you could say later on you might come back and do a big house if you had, if you have time or you want to, or you might sell it later. So I can build a tiny home. All you have to do is go through the city, tell them this is what you want to build, get the permits for it, and get it built right away. Or they have prefabs you could bring in on some of them. Which was interesting because I never thought of it that way, because most of the people in Pacific Palisades had loans, I was told. And that's a holdup. Again, they're fighting on the new rules and regulations there, because whatever footing was there, let's say it cost you $200,000 to put in a certain footing for the house. Right now, the way they keep changing on what they want put back, it may cost $1 million now. And this is their issue. We're not by the ocean, so we don't have that problem. So after hearing that, what I did was we went over everything and we raised the deductible as not quite as high, because I was going to go higher, but you were only talking $100 or something on the year. So I raised the deductible. So now they would give you a cash payout. So they would go through and they would analyze how much in materials, things you owned, your furniture and all that, jewelry, whatever was lost. And then there's a few other things they add in, and then whatever the house was insured for, and they give you a check. At that point, you can hire your own contractor and get your own home built. So for now, we are insured for another year. We're in an area that is, believe it or not, low concern for fire, he said. There hasn't been, I shouldn't jinx it, but there hasn't been a raging fire in this area. That doesn't mean anything. It could happen tomorrow. But we're set up better in this area than Pacific Palisades were. I will tell you, if I call the fire department in this area, they are no joke here in less than 3 minutes. I've even called them just to, I think I smell smoke, and they've come here and they've scouted around looking to see if it was a chimney or a fireplace, barbecue. They are so quick, where some areas are not. So that is a big plus, and that's why they don't consider it a bad area. But I thought it was interesting because this is something I learned that I had no idea about and never gave it a lot of thought, because people are fighting with the bank, they're fighting with the loan companies, they're fighting with trying to build back what they had, and they had a mortgage saying the house was worth $1 million, but now the house is worth $5 million. So with me, to be perfectly honest, I'd be happy living in a camper. Now, how legal that is and how long they'd let me live there, I don't know, but I'd plop a camper here. I would stay here. I would immediately start to plant. I would immediately set out hummingbird feeders. I would be gardening and doing the best I can and be perfectly happy with a little tiny house. So it's just something to think about if your mortgage is coming up and you're in an area that, let's say your property insurance is so high. Think about, do you own your house and do you want to raise, the deductible on it? I've done that, before in the past, but I didn't really think about that. So at this point in my life, we're going to go ahead and we paid, for the insurance. We'll ride year to year and see how it is. And it's just something that I didn't think about, because the people I'm thinking about, some of them that I've been looking into, really didn't own their house. I mean, it's very hard. These days, a lot of people want the mortgage. And so that made it more difficult for them. And it's terrible and it's sad. And I said, they can't just build something? No, because they took out a mortgage for a house that looks a certain way, certain square footage, everything in there, and you can't downsize. You can only go up. And to go up, most of these people don't have the money. So that was something I never really gave it a lot of thought on. So that was something that was interesting. And like I said, I'd be perfectly happy, Gary would be perfectly happy with a tent. I don't know in the winter if I would do well in a tent. I do have a tent. I have a 3-bedroom tent. Oh, that's a funny story. I have a 3-bedroom tent. They had that on sale. This has nothing to do with anything. It's just funny. They had it on sale at Walmart, like really cheap. It was like $100, and it's got 3 bedrooms and it's massive. And I thought, oh, I'm going to set up a tent here and then I can hang out in the tent and all this stuff. So I ordered the tent, and the tent comes, and Gary said, where are you putting this tent? I'm going to put it back here. You do know it's going to blow away. I said, it's going to blow away. It's going to blow away. You can't put a tent out here. And he said no. See, it won't stay. He thinks it's gonna blow away. So when I contacted Walmart and said I wanted to do a return, they didn't want it back. So now I have a 3-bedroom tent. Then my granddaughter, who was living here for 2.5 years at the time, when I ordered the tent, oh, we're going camping. You have a tent? I do have a tent. Can we borrow your tent? I remember that came up. Who's driving? And she said, my friend. I said, in the little car? Yeah, you need a truck. It's a big box. And she looked at it and thought, nope, that won't work. So you can't even take the thing camping unless you've got a truck. So anyways, I have a tent. But you know what? I feel secure because if I had to stick a tent up in this yard, that tent would go up in case of an emergency. I probably would stay on the property. If something happened, I would continue to do whatever, clean up and everything. And then I would get myself a small camper and physically start taking care of things. I'd work with my insurance company now that I know how this works as quick as possible, and then get a contractor. That's what I would do, and structure out a small, tiny house. I mean, even here would be beautiful. I'd call it the Hummingbird Cottage because it would be like a cottage and you could see the deer coming in and just everything around you, and the rabbits and the hummingbirds and the wild birds. I think it'd be cool. I'd be perfectly happy. I could have air conditioning. That's what he was telling me. You could have air. We don't even have air. We have it in one room for the animals, you know, the dogs, but you could have air and heating, he said, and everything new, and it would be smaller and it would be cheaper all the way around to live. So that's just something I thought I would share with you because I was really dead set on canceling. I thought it was time to cancel. And Gary agreed. He said, that's fine. We could do something else and figure it out. Because if worst came to worst and we had to build a home here, I do not want to sit here for 3 to 5 years waiting until I can build a house. And that would not work. But knowing now it would not be that. He told me from the time it happened, from start to finish, it would probably be 1 year. So if I had to live in a camper type thing, fifth wheel or camper for a year, I'd be fine. Devastated, but go on with life and be fine. So that was it. I just thought I would talk about this. I know it's quite boring for a lot of you, but it was very tragic last January, over a year ago when that happened, and scary. And there's been a lot of areas that have had fires like that all through California. We have to be aware. We've had some really hot weather for winter. And the only thing that saved us from anything was it was not as dry and not as windy. And like I said, we have a lot of different fire departments in different areas, and if one can't make it, somebody else will. The area where the Pacific Palisades were, they really messed up. They know they messed up. They didn't have water. My friend told me where her house was, fire department, she stayed home. In fact, I was talking to somebody else, is she out of there yet? And she said, no, she's waiting for the command to leave on her phone. Kept telling her to stay. And they didn't want, she said, everybody to leave and try to get through the canyon at the same time. She stayed till the very last minute. And she said, the fire department showed up and they didn't have water. The fire hydrants were empty. So that was a very bad situation. I don't want to get into that because you can look that up online, what happened there. So it was really sad. With the Eaton fire, that was a big mess up too, because people weren't notified to leave. And I think the resources, 90% of them were probably somewhere else fighting the fire out in Pacific Palisades. And by the time they realized how bad that was, it was like splitting the fire department in that area to another area, and it was just like 2 major issues going on at the same time. So that it was just like a snowball effect. It was horrible, and that could happen at any time. We are totally aware of it. We have hoses all over the place if we had to turn on our own water. So we are aware of all that. But I thought I would just share with you the insurance. It's really good to ask questions. And I think that is really the best you can do, is ask as many questions as you can. Even if you think they're dumb, there's never a dumb question. because you'd be surprised on the dumb questions that are actually so helpful. And just talking to people that have been through these fires, you know, sparked like, oh my gosh, how many years would it be till I can move back in here and all this? I said to Gary, would just put a fifth wheel, put a tiny house on here, and we just go for it. Take a loan at the time on the land and go for it, which is very difficult to take a loan, you know, but we would take it one day at a time, even if it's starting with a fifth wheel. But looking at it this way, dropping the insurance down, getting a large deductible, still having a good amount in there that we could build a decent smaller home, that's fine with me. And we'd have each other, and that's the main thing, is to stay safe. And I'm blessed to have him, believe you me. So I figured I'd just share this. And if you don't want to hear anything like this anymore, tell me, but I just wanted to kind of reflect on what's been going on, you know, on life, because a lot of us have different things going on that may be interesting to some other people. So with that, have a wonderful day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. And I'm going back to make more bird fountains, do gardening, grow a lot of vegetables, because I'll tell you right now, I want to eat as much as I can from the garden, because I'm not happy with what's coming out of the stores these days, but that is another video if you want to hear about it another time. I'm just sitting here watching all the butterflies. It's very quiet. I think it's too warm. If you notice, it's quiet. When it gets really hot in the middle of the day, the birds kind of go into the trees. Why not? And they kind of hang out, and they wait until it cools down, and then they come to eat. Bye-bye. It's beautiful here.